So, the Pharisees and Sadducees didn't believe Jesus Christ. They lived the Mosaic law, a law that Moses had established with the 10 Commandments and so forth, right? So they were founded upon that belief. And when Christ came in the picture, they didn't believe it at all, right? They thought that he was some kind of, king descending from the clouds and with a whole bunch of angels around him blowing their trumpets and all that, right? That's the Pharisees and, Sadducees, all the Jewish people back in that time. I do want to pick one member out of that community. He was a devout Pharisee. He went by the name of Saul. He was mentioned in chapter 58 of sickening. I think it was Corinthians, 1 Corinthians. If anything, go ahead and address me and write down the right scripture. But he was addressed in there, and his name was Saul, right? I think he was a new cat at the time. But when he was addressed, when he was mentioned in that scripture, in that verse, it was during the time of Stephen being stoned for preaching the word of Christ. And Saul's people took their clothes off and they laid it next to Saul's feet. It says it right there in the scripture, right? And why did they do that? Because they wanted to be, they wanted, I guess, their clothes to be clean. They didn't want no blood stains and all that crap on there while they were stoning Stephen. So Saul, later on, he was a top member. He became a top member, and he was told by one of the authorities of the church at that time that he should round up all the followers of Christ and whoever speaks of Christ and preach of Christ, round them all up, bind them up, throw them in jail, or kill them. And Paul, just being obedient that he is and firm in his belief, he just went ahead and he did that, right? Hold on. Now that damn noise is out the way, he went ahead and he did that, right? For some reason, I think he been contemplating this whole time, in his mind, why do these people really deserve to die, right? Because, why do I say that? Because Damascus, he was on his way to Damascus with two of his sidekicks behind him, and then they heard a voice, and they couldn't see anything except for Saul, and he saw Christ, and Christ said, why do you kill my people? He says, why does thou persecute me, right? That's what he's saying. And then he says, why have you been kicking against the pricks? And for those who don't know that term or metaphor, I would say, what is a prick? He's kicking against a prick. So you take a staff, right? And you have a herd of cows around you, and you want to lead them into one direction or to the other direction, right? And at the end of that staff, you got this little pointy bullnose shaped roundabout, thingy majiggy PF Chang 3000, whatever the hell you want to call it, right? And he's been kicking against that. For me, I felt as if his conscience, the light that Christ had gave us when we enter into this world, which is conscience. He gave us all light, and it's called conscience. For me, it had to be messing with his conscience, right? What he was doing, he was killing children and men and women and rounding them up and throwing them out and throwing them in jail and, you know, just doing his chores, man, his daily task. So anyways, after he heard that, he was blinded for 3 days. I mean, it says that he had scales on his eyes after he got the blessings from Ananias. And what's funny is that before Ananias blessed this guy, you know, to heal him, to heal Saul, he looked to Christ and he was like, Jesus Christ, what, you know, God, why do you want me to heal this man who has been persecuting all our people? And Jesus Christ was like, you know, hey, stop being a scrub, go over there and do what you were called to do. And Ananias went over there and he put his hands on him and he gave him a blessings. Voila, old boy can see, right? Like the real spit to the blind man type of thing, right? And ever since then, I mean, his name switched from Saul to Paul. He became known as the Apostle Paul of the Gentiles. He was gangster. You know what I'm saying? Why? Because he went back. He rewind his footsteps to all the spots that he went to, and he testified of Christ being the Son of the Father. You know what I mean? Yeah, and he went all the way to the point where God said, you know what? That's enough, man. Now you can give up the ghost. You know what I'm saying? And so what I want to extract from this is, when you're called to do something, you won't be scared at all to go do this. You know what I'm saying? Like, because nothing won't happen to you, because it's the sovereignty of God. And the sovereignty of God means it won't get to you unless it goes through Christ first, unless it goes through God first. You know what I'm saying? The 3 boys, they got thrown into the fire. The fire was still hot. The fire was still fire. And yet it had no effect on the 3 Hebrew boys that went into the fire. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Because they were filled with so much light that the light couldn't touch them at all. The fire couldn't burn them at all, right? Christ did not deliver them from the fire, except he joined them into the fire until they gave up the ghost. When you have that power, you decide when to die. You know what I'm saying? Isaiah was rolled up in the carpet and he was sawed in half. And he kept preaching the word of Christ. And then it said he gave up the ghost. So yeah, that's what I want to share about the Apostle Paul. The dude was a nut, man, but that's what you call testifying of Christ, man. And I do this video because many of my peoples, my friends and my families, especially my families, they don't understand what the scriptures say. And I didn't think I understood what I didn't think I'd get to this point too, you know what I'm saying? Like, I started searching, but I mean, just out of the blue, I mean, I'm starting to see what these scriptures mean. And it can go deep as you want it to go. Don't ever stop searching. Keep searching. There's other books out there. Don't be scared to get your testimony heard and rebuilt back up. How are we supposed to come to a broken heart and a contrite spirit if we just maintain at a certain level and say, nah, we good here, you know what I'm saying, we'll be saved, I'll be saved right here, God knows me, God knows what's up. No, we cannot be saved out of ignorance. I look at it this way: you got Satan in the 1/3 who came down here, who has no veil whatsoever, who has no curtain over their minds whatsoever, that they know from the beginning from the end. And then you have us, who has this curtain over our mind because we have a body. We need knowledge. We need wisdom. It is, you know, the prophet Joseph Smith even said that, you know, knowledge it ought to be obtained in order to be saved. We cannot be saved out of ignorance. But I'm always gonna be sharing, man, because I know there's a lot of people out there that needs the help. So just want to share that message with y'all. One love.